Hey guys, Dr. McClain, and today I want to talk about the 10 signs or warning symptoms that you may have an autoimmune disorder and then what you can start to do about that. So I tell you, the autoimmune disorders is really a frustrating area if you're dealing with these types of symptoms and the issues, because the symptoms can vary greatly from person to person. So you could have two people diagnosed with the same autoimmune disorder, but their symptoms vary greatly. But also these symptoms can really mimic a lot of other diseases. So it's hard to pin down. Most people go through years of dealing with these symptoms before they're ever diagnosed with anything. And then once they're diagnosed, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That doesn't really do you any good. In other words, it narrows the focus, but then you got to start figure out, okay, what are you going to do about it? And the treatments, again, can vary from person to person because the symptoms can vary so much. Now, to me, the reason this is so important to me is because I was never diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, but I had severe immune system issues growing up, and when I look back at this list, I had a lot of these things. So I think I could have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, but hopefully I can give you some hope that I've been able to heal these things 100% through natural methods. Unknowingly, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just trying to get healthier, but I can go back to these things and figure out what it was at the time and why I did it, and now I can be able to help our patients here in our office and online, be able to help them with these issues as well. So just real briefly, what an autoimmune disorder is when your immune system mistakenly attacks your own tissues. And there's some people say over 100 different autoimmune disorders, some people say over 200. Make a long story short, there's a lot of them. And it's diagnosed depending on which tissue it attacks. So if your immune system attacks your thyroid, you could have something like Hashimoto's, what's called hypothyroidism. Or you could have MS, multiple sclerosis, is also an autoimmune disease. There's a huge long list. So let's go through the top 10 signs or warning signs or symptoms for autoimmune disorders or immune system issues. And they're not in particular order, as far as one's more important than the other. And I'll try to go a little bit of each of those of why they might be happening. If you can kind of figure out why they might be happening, you can start to work on those issues. And I can tell you across the board what I can see the two most common things I see with all autoimmune disorders, not for everybody, but a huge percentage of the time, is stress and leaky gut or gut issues. And so we know that the vast majority of people, sometimes over 80%, sometimes even higher, report that they had a major stressor right before they started to develop these symptoms of the autoimmune disorder. Now that stress could have been a divorce, or it could have been a bankruptcy, or it could have been a physical stress like a car accident or a broken bone. So it can be any one of those things. So we know the number one I have listed here is joint pain, muscle weakness, sometimes even a tremor in the muscles. And we know that inflammation's involved with these disorders. So inflammation can create pain, especially joint pain. We know rheumatoid arthritis and psoriatic arthritis are both autoimmune disorders, so that obviously can be a factor there in terms of the pain. Number two, heat intolerance, severe weight loss, sometimes weight gain, insomnia, rapid heartbeat. So again, same thing with inflammation, but also hormonal imbalances, which can come directly from the gut. We know the gut, they're calling now the second brain, has a huge influence into our hormones, so the gut can be a big issue. Number three is recurring rashes or hives and or sun sensitivity. So we know that, and then number four I'll kind of touch on right now, as well as rash across the face as well. And the reason this can happen is a lot of people don't realize that our skin is one of our biggest detoxers. Now, so sometimes when we have a rash on our skin, our body's doing what it's supposed to do, is trying to get the things out of our system that are not supposed to be there, okay? So when we have chronic rashes though, then we know that can be a gut issue because there's toxins crossing the gut border that are not supposed to be. And I go into leaky gut in another video. If you have questions on leaky gut, what it is, what to do about it, I go that in more detail in another video, and I'll put the link for that in the description here as well. We know number five, difficulty concentrating and poor memory. And there can be many factors for this. By the way, again, like I said, these symptoms vary widely. So it doesn't mean if you have these symptoms that you have an autoimmune disorder. They can mimic many other things. But we just know that your body's not functioning the right way if you're having these symptoms, and we want to try to get down to the cause the best that you can. Okay? So difficulty concentrating, poor memory, again, that can go back to the gut. And we know that that can affect, again, the gut-brain connection, ability to focus. Also, we have high levels of inflammation or high levels of stress that affects our ability to concentrate on high stress hormones like cortisol. mental fatigue, general fatigue. You just think about if your body is constantly fighting, your immune system just working overtime, that's going to affect your energy levels. And sometimes your body's trying to make you tired to make you sleep more, because we do the most healing when we sleep. So that would make sense for a lot of different diseases, but specifically for autoimmune disorders. Weight gain I touched on earlier, but weight gain and food intolerance. And that can go, again, directly back to the gut, where you can be eating really healthy foods, but your body's not absorbing those properly because you've got gut issues. And we know hypothyroidism, or what they call Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disorder, that can cause weight gain and lethargy and fatigue, and that's one of the most common autoimmune disorders. And right along with that's number 8, severe hair loss or hair loss, patches of baldness, people losing hair on the outer third of the eyebrows is a real common one, or a common symptom of, again, Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism. Now, just a side note on Hashimoto's, they say, at least one study I looked at said 90 to 97% of people that are diagnosed with hypothyroidism have Hashimoto's, and they're never told that, or at least the vast majority never told that. They don't know that they have an autoimmune disorder. They just assume that they've got a thyroid problem. So in the grand scheme of things, remember that there's always a cause. I'll come back to that here in just a minute. Number 9, cold sores and canker sores. I can tell you, for me, man, when I was going through my immune system issues, I was sick all the time. Ear infection, sore throat, mono, strep throat, but I would constantly have canker sores, and not typically just one. I'd have 2 or 3 or 4 at the same time. It was pretty rare for me not to have any canker sores. And again, I had no idea that this was connected to my immune system at all at the time, to the point where it looked like sometimes like I had a fat lip. It was very difficult to eat and drink. A lot of times it was just, when they were just so painful. So that, again, makes sense to me. And the number 10 was a big issue for me as well. Digestive issues, discomfort, blood or mucus in your stools, gassiness. And this is something I dealt with for a long time. I was chronically constipated. The vast majority of the time I was constipated, very gassy. Quite commonly I have blood in my stool. I know I don't try to gross anybody out, but that was the reality. And I know I probably had, if I'd been diagnosed at the time, probably would have been diagnosed with leaky gut. I was able to do some things to heal that. So the grand scheme of things, I want you to think big picture wise, is that those symptoms are the end result. In other words, your body's not functioning the right way, then these symptoms show up. You don't get leaky gut and then get sick. You get sick and then get leaky gut. I hope that makes sense with it. I'm explaining that. So hopefully you can kind of go back to these things and look at some of those major symptoms you might be having and go, okay, how can I reverse process this, and look at some things that I can do to start to increase the healing of my body. And we'll continue to produce videos on this to try to help you along this journey, because I know what it was like for myself, how difficult it was, how bad life was at the time, how difficult life was, and how much easier it is now because I have my health. And it took me a long time to get there. The good news, I went through the hard process. I got the shortcuts now, and I can help you hopefully through that process much better. So if you're enjoying these videos, please, if you have questions, comment or question below. And then also I'll put some links in the description here that I will help you in some other videos as well. And if you're enjoying this, please subscribe to our page as well.